So the next step would be to just break this table down so it only shows one department at a time. And I could go ahead and manually hand filter out each department and print it each time, but that's too much work. Instead, let's go ahead and create a pivot table that does this work for us. So here we have a pivot table that is just for finish, and it is filtering for only the ones that have a 1 or a yes for the rank number is less than 26. And you can see how I made this pivot table. Scan, date and time, station, tray, and bin number were put in the rows, and then department and rank were put under the filters here. And that's just a matter of clicking and dragging. I will admit that I've modified the pivot table a little bit, so I'll just show that real quick. So just compare this to this. See, it puts all of these columns into one column, which can be annoying. Sometimes this is useful, sometimes it's annoying. Usually you're not dealing with 4 levels of the categorical variables, but we were this time. Now, this is basically what I produced. There were more columns that people were interested in for the initial printout. Now note right here, no 200s, so that's working, that's great. But currently this is putting everything as it should in order of whatever I put in the leftmost column, which might make sense. So this is the most stalled tray in finish that we are worried about. But when I gave this to the lead of the finish department, they brought out the concern that, okay, so these are the trays that I need to look for, but it's kind of annoying having to run around all these different stations. It would be a lot nicer if we could reorganize this list so that all of station 17 were together and all of station 18, 19, and 20. So I went ahead and made that change. Boom. Put station first, then scan date, time, and then tray number. So that way they could handle all of the stalled trays in station 17 before moving on. But then there was the problem that, okay, I'm at station 17, but it's kind of hard to find these trays, or when their tray number is all over the place. It would be a lot easier to find them if these were in numerical order. So I said, okay, let's do that. So now I changed it to station first, then tray number, then scan date and time. So now this list is no longer in order of most late to not. These are still the top 25. They're just not in that order. So these are all trays that the lead needs to look for, prioritized to the level that they're the top 25, but not prioritized. You have to deal with the number 1 stalled tray first. Instead, we are allowing them to focus on a particular station and then deal with that station more quickly, because then we are organizing it by the tray number. And once I had this pivot table, all I had to do is make a copy of this tab. I'm going to move or copy, create a copy, put it before sheet cheat, becomes draft 2, and now all I have to do is say, actually, now let's get the list for the dip department. and there we go. There's the top 25 for div. And then create another tab. There's the shipping department, and so on. So I had a different tab for each department, and then I could just print the entire tab out, and it was super quick, and just a matter of updating the raw data, copying and pasting over the old data, going to refresh all, and I was done. And it gave me exactly what I needed, which was really cool. So that is how I dealt with it. Alternatively, if you don't want to, if this formula is a little too advanced for you, there are alternative options, which I refer to as cheats, but don't feel bad. What I am doing here, alternatively, is I just go straight from this table straight on to a pivot table, and I just go ahead and I list every single tray within a given department, and I still I still want it to be a row that I'm interested in, so still the count needs to equal 1. But once I have that, these are all the trays, and there are 676 of them, about 672, whatever. But I am only concerned about the top 25, which this pivot table is already sorting the top 25. So it gives me, so I just go ahead and I created a table right beside it, and I just go scan date, tray, station, equals A5. Boom. I get all the data I need for the top 25. But then you ask, but the lead said they didn't want it to be in this order. How do you reorganize it? That's fine. We're just going to go ahead and make a pivot table out of only this table. So whereas this pivot table is pulling from this huge data table, which I don't know if I shared with you, is over 6,000 rows long, this pivot table is only concerned on what's in this abbreviated table. And I just wanted to demonstrate this is what Excel gives you by default. We then want to change it at least to this. Usually I go ahead and repeat all label items, so the 17s and the 18s all repeat. It's up to you. Sometimes it matters more than others, but this is what we wanted. Station, tray number, date, time. And this pivot table is going to be exactly what they wanted. Finally, I'll just show you the final product that I made for them. So here we have the pivot table of the top 25 with station, tray, bin number, scan date time, days late, number of breakages. I went ahead and included conditional formatting to some of these. One thing to point out, when you're doing conditional formatting, you have different options. Data bars don't really work when you're trying to conditionally format days. As you can see, you can barely see the difference in any of these, and the reason is because Excel doesn't see 11/25/2018. It sees 4,343.31, which, you know, is a very big number, and it's going to be very big for all of these. So that doesn't really work. Instead, for dates, I always conditionally format by color. And the reason why I chose only one color was because when I printed these out, it would be printed out on a black and white printer, and so the color didn't really matter. It was more the grade of the color. Days late was perfectly fine to do the data bars, and so was number of breakages. And of course my table was longer than just these 6 columns, but you get the idea. On top of that, I went ahead and created another pivot table right under this 25, which had all of the breakages for a given department. Still only concerned about the ones that actually count, only filtering for finish, but all of the breakages. But to create this, I already showed you how I did it, and it's just another way of doing this ranking. I just am sorting it by the most broken tray and going down. So they didn't really care about the other issues that we faced previously, so there's breakages. Also, I have the top 3 late trays, but to do this, how did I create this table? I went ahead and in the Cheat tab, Finish, Days Late, Scan Daytime, all of the data that I wanted in a pivot table, ordered by days late, and sort of similar to what we did here, I just said, okay, what's an cheat sheet? S5, it's S5. There we go. And just give me the first 3. Now, what do you notice about the top 3 lates? They're all exactly 8. And so are the next 6 rows. So not a perfect system in this case, but at least it gives them something to work on. And that was the goal. So that's how you do it. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. Perfectly understandable. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Bye.